Hello. First off, I like to move, but I've been told I have to kind of stay in this area for the stream. So if I seem a bit stoic and a bit static, it's because of that. Normally I've got ADHD, so I'm normally all over the place. You're trying to catch me, but you can't. But yes, is it on screen? Yes, welcome. Thank you for coming to my talk, Crafting Trailers That Players Can't Ignore. My name is Alexander Klockare-Holland. Some people know me as Dutch. And today I'm going to talk through what I've learned about how to make trailers that are memorable, that cut through the noise and matter. But first of all, who the hell am I? And why am I talking on stage? Well, I'm definitely not Swedish, but my wife is Swedish. That's why the name. I get asked that all the time. Oh, it's a very Swedish name. But it's our names kind of came together. And I live in Stockholm. But I'm from a small town in England called Bourne, where there isn't much to do apart from chase cows, tell stories, and play video games, which I did a lot of. I started my career out in the movies, directing and editing, and eventually I moved to London, like all the big kids do one day. I'll go to the big city. And I became a creative director. And I was very fortunate enough that one day someone came up to me and said, we have a problem, you're good at solving creative problems, and it's this game and we need a live action trailer. And for me, that was this like lights on moment, this like, this divinity happened, a light came down, and I suddenly realized that after working for many years in kind of creating visual storytelling, that I could take my storytelling craft and I could apply that to video games. And it was this kind of moment where I was like, what have I been doing my entire life? And it's kind of been that ever since. I've been obsessed. And today, I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Slaghuset Studios. We create trailers and content for video games. And I've also started a new consultancy called Creative Consulting, where we kind of help indies and AAAs and studios and publishers of all size with their internal teams kind of solve problems with content and trailers. So that's why I'm here. I run a studio and I consult. But more importantly, I've been involved in every stage of nearly every scale of trailer from beginning to end, from indies to legacy IPs, from that moment of them being born to solving the problems that have occurred along the way. And there's a few recent games that I just want to highlight to you that I had the pleasure of overseeing at Slaghuset Studios, and that's Jump Ship, Metro Awakening, and Enshrouded. And I highlight those ones not because that they're these big AAA games, because they're not. They're these really manageable, achievable, brilliant games, and they were very successful, but because they just had brilliant teams behind them, and we got to collaborate them and create really focused, creative storytelling. And that's why I think they're kind of relevant for this talk today. So I'm going to talk about, I'm moving, aren't I? He's kind of trying to keep, was that all right? I'm going to talk about some AAA references. I'm hoping to talk about some wicked indie references. And I'm going to pass on some relevant and hopefully achievable advice for you guys to take home with you. And hopefully, I don't waffle. And hopefully, there's time for questions if you have any. But let's manage some expectations first. I think that's super important, because sometimes you get these talks, they give you all this advice, and you go, but where does it apply to me, and where do I stop listening and start listening? The first thing is, this kind of assumes your game is good. I assume everybody in this room is making good games, and that's what we're setting out to achieve. And even good games need good trailers and good marketing. Number two, it's not about trends. It's not about TikTok trends or influencer hacks and discovery strategy. I'm here to talk about trailer craft itself. Because if done right, it earns attention, and it's going to bring people in to keep watching and keep sharing, and above all, be memorable. Number three, there are no silver bullets. What I'm offering is frameworks. There is no one-size-fits-all. Anybody who tells you, if you do this, it works, they're kind of lying. But there are things that you can take from everything I say and apply to your case, to your game, to your trailer. It is relevant across all scales and sizes. And exactly that last point, they're just fundamentals. What I'm talking about is just good old-fashioned storytelling. Storytelling that's gone all the way back to the Greeks that we sometimes seem to forget to do today. And this is applicable to AAAs, it's applicable to indies. You can do this at home in your bedroom. Nothing is required for what we're about to do. Now, talking of storytelling, I was really struggling to find a place or something to ground this talk in. I've been battling with it for weeks. And I was on the tunnelbana. I always say tube, and it confuses people because they think, oh, you're talking about London. But no, the tunnelbana. And I was reading my Kindle, and I'm reading this fabulous book, The Stormlight Archives, A Way of Kings. If you haven't read it, it's incredible, and I cannot recommend it enough. Super nerdy. And there was this amazing line in it that was my aha moment. And the line is, the purpose of storytelling is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. And too often, we forget that. And I think as game makers and game marketers, we often forget that, right? We're telling stories in our worlds, but we forget to tell a story in the wider outside of our world, the world where our games are existing and being sold to people. Our go-to-market strategies and even our trailers, especially our trailers, should tell stories that spark questions and intrigue. That is what this talk is about today. Now, the joy of video games, I feel, and for this track, is discovery. That's what we're all doing here, right? We want someone to come on board with us and to discover the world that we've created. And that's what this is all about, telling stories that we can invite people in. Now, granted, and I'm going to slow down here because I'm like too much Red Bull. It's a tough market, and I appreciate that everybody in this room understands that, right? We have a market saturation challenge. We have new games, we have new content, everybody's screaming for attention. It's noisy, it's overcrowded, and more importantly, it's risk averse. Everyone's telling you to do this to assure success, but if everyone's doing it, then it just means we're all making noise. And players are actively trying to filter it out in any way that they can, just to find the thing that they enjoy or the thing that they're interested in. And above all, I think we found ourselves in a little bit of a weird paradox. And I didn't coin this, actually. Akram, our CEO, did, and I kind of stole from him and have kind of melded it together. But it's a little thought exercise that I think helps us understand that beyond the little game that we're making or massive game that we're making that we really want people to enjoy, we need to think about value and expectation from the player's perspective, that engagement period, right? And this exercise is this. If you think about like a new can of Coke, call it cherry and lime flavor, that can of Coke is going to cost maybe €2, $2.50, right? Now I want you to think about a new car. A new car comes out, on average it's going to be 30, 40,000 euros, let's say. Now, when the can of Coke comes out, it's going to get a couple of weeks, maximum a month, of really intensive advertising and marketing. You're going to see it everywhere. Sides of buses, on your TV, on the out-of-home campaign as you're on the tunnelbana. Still getting used to it. And a car has a 2 to 3 year engagement, right? It's demos, it's paid ad media spends, it's commercials on TV, it's brochures, it's inviting people in to come check out the car. It's a 2 to 3 year process. Now games, they're what? 20 euros, 10 euros, 50 euros, 70, we're approaching 100 with GTA. But games cost closer to a Coke than they do to a car, yet we market them like cars. We have these really long engagement periods where amongst all the other stuff that we as people are going on, we're saying, hey, we need you to pay attention for 2 to 3 years. We have trailers, marketing beats, discords, communities. We're trying to get their attention all the time. And on top of that, on top of all that time we're trying to ask them before, we're then saying we want another 20, 70, 100, 1,000, 10,000 hours of your life to play this game. And that's why trailers really matter. I get asked this all the time. Are trailers still relevant? Yes. Yes, they're more relevant than ever before. I really, really don't want people to ever think that, not just because it keeps me in the job, but it really is so relevant because trailers are the first promise that you make to your players. It's the first time that you go, hey, amongst everything going on in your life, this is worth your time. Let me show you why. Now, I don't want to get back into the negativity, but kind of have to go there a little bit. We've been breaking those promises. And I'm sure we've all seen this, yeah? We've seen the whole, not really gameplay, I'll wait for alpha, it's only pre-alpha, it's pre-rendered footage, oh, hold off guys, wait. There's a lot of it. And games are asking for time, money, but above all, we're asking for trust. And players, quite frankly, aren't very trusting at the moment. We've oversold, we've overhyped, we've overpromised in this industry. And when the games didn't live up, which is happening more often than not, the damage wasn't just done to the studio or to the Steam reviews, but it was done to the medium itself. Trust in trailers, but more importantly, the promises that you guys are yet to make. And obviously that's massively unfair. So what are the mistakes that they've been making, that others have been making, that are still being made today that we can try and avoid? And I really want to caveat first that there are many amazing trailers being made daily that I see, and that's what I spend most of my time stealing and watching and going, oh, that was amazing, how can I take that, how can I learn from this? But more often than not, at the moment, trailers are just making simple, as I said earlier, really simple storytelling mistakes. And especially what's happening is it's happening in the first few seconds, which, as we know, in this very busy, very crazy world, is happening faster and faster and faster. People are just willing to switch off, click onto the next thing. What's the next thumbnail that they can click on? Now, I say these mistakes because I have made every single one of these. And I'll put my hand up first and say it. I've done it professionally, I've done it for AAA, and I've done it for indie. I've done it all across the board. And I've learned the hard way of how to avoid these. So I'm not sat here on my high horse going, oh, look at you lot making all these mistakes. I've made these mistakes. And we don't make them because we are, we don't care about the medium, we don't care about the format, we don't care about the, the audience. We do it because we're trying to cram everything in, because we're scared they won't get it. We're scared we're going to miss that first interaction with them. If we tell them everything, we leave nothing to intrigue, nothing to play a fantasy. And again, I'm going to keep saying this phrase, you need to invite them into your world. A great trailer doesn't just inform. It builds emotion, it sparks curiosity, and it invites belief. And there was a great time, and I'm speaking to the oldies in the room, and you know who you are. Who remembers these guys? It might be a bit distorted on my image because I did it for visual kind of look, and I realize now on screen it's quite hard to see. But there was a kind of this golden age in the 2000s to middle 2010s. Skyrim launch trailer, Halo 3 Believe, Dead Island, Gears of War Mad World. Some of these are cinematics, some of these get brilliant gameplay in them, but they were cultural moments. They were iconic. They weren't just marketing. They created emotional connection and anticipation. They invited us into the world, and they built player fantasy. They made us wish to be in that world. They made us itch for that controller when it came out. And it made us dream what it was going to be like to play that game, to be that character. And so the question remains, can you still achieve that today? How do you stand out above the rest? And the answer, obviously, as why you're here and why I'm here, is yes. Yes, you can. But it's not by being louder, and it's not by being faster, and it's not by doing the same trend that everybody else is doing on TikTok. It's about clear, better storytelling. And with that, but I'm going to come back to that, right? Not right, but remember the pencil. It's important. So what I'm going to share with you is 7 principles that I've written that I use to make trailers unforgettable. And again, I can say I've written them, but this is just storytelling fundamentals. Okay? I'm going to take credit, but I definitely don't deserve to do that. It's how I ensure and kind of BS check that I'm going to be making a trailer and moments in my trailer that people are going to talk about it, but more importantly, they're going to share. So let's walk through them. But first, a sip. Refreshing. Now, principle 1, player fantasy is God. Show them who they become, not what they'll do. I cannot emphasize this enough. Everything in this talk, all the 7 points I'm going to talk about, is about doing this. This is everything that you're doing in your games. This is everything you need to be doing for your players in your marketing campaigns, in any assets you create, and especially your trailers. In case you don't know what it is, and it's a phrase you may have not heard before, player fantasy is the emotional promise you make of who the player gets to become in their world. But it is half a journey. It is a half step that you create, and they take the rest of the way. That's what comes back to intrigue and questions before. If you tell them the entire thing, I promise you they're not going to have it. There won't be player fantasy. It is your ultimate goal. It informs every decision you make, not just in your marketing strategies and your go-to-market campaigns as a publisher or as an indie, whatever. It's especially in your trailers. It is everything you need to think about. It's about who the player becomes, not a task list. It's about the journey, not features. It's about escapism and emotional high points, but just as importantly, emotional low points. Now, I obviously take a massively expensive, big reference point, which is God of War. But God of War does brilliantly what stories have done for 2,000, 3,000 years, right? They invite you into a world where you literally get to feel like what it is to become Kratos. They invite you on a journey, and it's not about swinging blades. It's not about the checkpoint system. It's not about the mechanics of it. It's about how you feel, how you create a feeling of literally becoming a god. And that is not done with cinematics, and it's not done with features and checklists and swinging swords and blades and mechanics. It's done through feeling and tone. If you do this, you will build a community, you will have wish lists, and you will have downloads. And this, quite frankly, any great trailer you see, this is what they're doing. And the trailers that you're just like, meh, you watch in half an hour, 45 minutes later, you can't remember what happens, it's because they didn't do this. But what do you need to achieve it? Obviously, it sounds like a big, grand, lofty thing, and it sounds quite hard to do. So I'm going to walk you through that. To achieve it, principle 2, tone and feeling. Every decision needs to build emotional connection, and you do that through tone and feeling. Tone creates feeling, and when combined with a visual journey, that's what creates player fantasy. Every choice matters. Every cut, every VO, every placement of mechanics, your music, your visual choice, where you place things, that matters. Define every beat in your trailer by feeling first. Then craft tone through audio and visual journey and elements together to serve that feeling, to create that player fantasy. Now, Elden Ring do a wicked job of this. And again, another big AAA example, but it's just a brilliant example of it, right? When you open up in that launch trailer, you get these wicked, eerie, high-pitched, off-pitched strings that come in. This eerie choir comes in. This deep thrumming bass comes in. And immediately, you're hit with this ethereal VO. Now, I've not seen anything about the game, but suddenly my mind is racing, and I get an underlying feeling. I kind of know the journey I'm about to go on. I kind of get the feeling of the world I'm stepping into. And this is what you need to do. They don't explain, but they pull you in through emotional gravity. It's about tone and feeling. That's what sets it up. And it's important that you do that from the very first frame. And that's when it matters most. Principle 3, the 5-second rule. And it's not really 5 seconds. It's kind of 3 seconds. It's also 2 and 1, but sometimes 10. Again, this is a framework. But let's call it the first 5-second rule. That's when tone, pace, and feeling matter most. Those opening seconds, when it's true to your game. This is when the audience decides, is this for me? Am I about to commit to watch the full trailer? Whether on YouTube or storefront, it's irrelevant, right? If you nail that tone and feeling in the first 5 seconds, you earn the next 25, you earn the next 60, you earn the next 2 minutes. God forbid if you do that. But again, break the rules. But once you've earned that attention, what do you do then? What's next? Well, principle 4. Please, for the love of God, don't just dump gameplay and think it's enough, right? Gameplay is story. Gameplay is you proving the player fantasy. Too often, people treat gameplay like it's self-explanatory and just dump footage in. It's not. Footage, like features and mechanics, should support the journey you go on, not replace it. It should keep me engaged. Don't just dump it in and expect magic, right? Structure gameplay and your edit and uncut gameplay. Sorry, my brain here. Structure your edit and gameplay like it's a journey. Show friction, show risk, show setup, show mishaps, show the journey and conflict that they're going to go under. It should tell a story, validate the fantasy. And please, I mean this in the best intention, and sometimes budget can't allow it, but try and work with an editor. One of the biggest challenges that I see in indie to sometimes AA is that no one's thought about the actual edit itself. And they've basically thought we can cut it together without, and editing is a craft. It really, really is. Like the jobs and the work that you guys do, editing and post-production is a craft. If you can, work with an editor. If not, watch some videos on it, learn the basics of storytelling. It's going to make your trailer way better, I promise. Now, talking of audience, expand it. Principle 5. Your campaign and your trailer is a funnel. Too often I see campaigns and trailers being done by even some of the biggest companies, studios, and publishers. They rush to target the core audience, and they forget that that campaign and the trailers and content you come out with is a journey, and they miss out on potential players. They rush to get to the people they think are going to buy the game, right? But your campaign's a funnel, and especially your trailers, they should start wide, and they should pull people in. And you pull them in by asking and letting them ask questions. It's a discovery tool. Speak to your future players, and the best piece of advice I could give you is, I know when we're working on this and we're about to get a launch out and we want to drop a trailer, we're thinking about the people that will watch it now, but we forget that a month, 2 months, 6 months down the line, people might find or check the review, or they see it and they see it's got some good reviews on Steam, and they'll rush the first place for validation, and that might be YouTube. Talk to those people as well. welcome them in, and let them decide if this game is for them. And once they're in, do not slam the door shut. Leave space, let them wander. Leave the door open. Great transition. Leave a door open. And shout out to Blueprints, by the way, and Raw Fury and everybody involved in that game. It's a fabulous game, and they in their campaign, they did this excellently, because it's not a game I would ever play. But they created enough intrigue where I was like, yeah, all right, I'll download it. And now I'm hooked. And I'm terrible at it, and if anyone could offer any advice on how to make that game work, because I just keep getting to like the room before the end room, and I can't find the lever for the garden, it's stressing me out. But games, your stories and your trailers, they need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, question mark? Never a conclusion. Never, ever, ever. Your goal is curiosity. It is not information overload. We do not want people watching your trailer, if you do 1, if you do 5, you do 10. We do not stand the full game. It's narrative, it's features. If they've done that, that's what's going to happen at that point before. They're going to go, well, not for me. No, thanks. Not my type of game. We need to create questions, drive interest, leave questions that only playing the game or watching the next trailer will answer. And then you do it again, and you do it again. And before you realize it, they're at that button about to click it. And they go, well, you've taken me on a journey, and now I need to know what it's like. I need to feel that player fantasy. Now, don't over-explain and don't overstay. Just cut. Great transition. Principle 7. Cut, cut, cut. Less is more, then cut some more. Cut like a storyteller. This kind of goes to my point earlier about being an editor. Quench thirst, sorry. I'm firing through this, I know I am. Hoping you're keeping up. Cut like a storyteller and not a feature checklist. Every moment, every frame, every mechanic has to earn its place. It has to be ruthless. If it's not doing something to serve the fantasy, if it's not serving or allowing the audience to ask some more questions, if it's answering things, cut it out. When in doubt, cut it out. There's a little rhyme to help you. Wasn't intentional. Or was it? Those are the 7. Those are my 7 principles. I know I fired through them, and it was a bit quick, but haha, no, there's 8. The unexpected. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. This is the secret sauce. And shout out to Balaltro. I'm dyslexic. I'm always going to say it wrong. I've been corrected about 19 different times. If you know, you know. Fabulous trailer. Well, I don't even know if it's really a trailer, but it was fabulous. No one expected it. But once you've built trust, or even if you haven't, but let's say you've built trust, you've built tone, you've built tension, even if they think they've got you, I know what it is, but I'm still interested, I know what it is, break it. Break a rule. Hit them with something they didn't see coming. It could be a visual surprise, it could be a tonal shift, it could be a mechanical twist, it could be something you've had in your back pocket for the last 3 trailers that you've waited not to show, or even any of the stuff that you've been doing on Discord and speaking to your community about. Leave something in your back pocket for everything and surprise them. But for the love of God, make sure it's true to your game. Don't just suddenly do something and be like, ha-ha, racist pun. Don't do that. That's an awful idea. But you need to do something that's just going to make them go, whoa, okay, well, didn't expect that. I thought I figured it all out, but I obviously haven't. And again, when you apply backwards and all the things I talked about before, leaving a door open, cutting quick and never letting them answer questions, they're going to realize that you are treating them with a modicum or even a lot of intelligence. You're assuming that those people are intelligent enough to be on this journey, and you've invited them along for it, and they're going to respect you for it. And I'm going to shout out again to Gears of War Mad World, and I know it's a very old reference, but the reason why it's such an amazing kind of, I think, validation of this point is who expected, and if you're old enough to remember that game's build-up, but who expected this melancholic REM song to be playing over the top of a game that was seemingly about chainsawing monsters and aliens in the face, right? Like, on paper, I'd love to see the person who pitched that. Hear me out. Hear me out. Have you ever heard REM? But that song was, and so that decision was 100% true to the journey of Marcus Phoenix. And if you've played the game, you understand it. It's an incredibly sad story about a man watching his world fall apart around him and him constantly trying but failing to do it. That's the player fantasy. It wasn't some obscure random decision that someone made and thought, well, okay, this is going to be fun, let's see what happens. It was a brilliant decision where someone went, this is going to epitomize what the player fantasy of this game is about. This is what Gears of War is about. So always ask yourself, where are you surprising us? Now, the humble pencil I talked about earlier. Get a piece of paper or a whiteboard or an iPad if you're down with the kids. And before you capture anything, and before you start editing, take a 10-minute exercise and just map out on a piece of paper or on that whiteboard an emotional journey. Emotional intensity on that axis, horizontal, vertical, dyslexia. And then on the bottom one, let's call it that, we're going to do the trailer from beginning to end. And we're going to give this kind of like emotional arc, this, right? And we're going to mark out along there our kind of main points, our kind of first 5 seconds. We're going to build our peaks, our unexpected, our final question mark, when we're going to cut them off, when we're going to make them ask questions, right? And it should never be a flat line. It should never be a constant curve upwards. It's got to have highs and lows, like life. And it shouldn't be either complex either. Like, I do probably take this to quite an extreme, and I spend a lot of time, and I know my team have seen me like a madman sat in our boardroom in front of like the whiteboard marker, like Charlie out of Only Sunny in Philadelphia, trying to figure out and connect all the dots. But it's about having intention before execution. These simple steps, if you do this, right, you're going to avoid directionless editing, directionless storytelling. You're definitely going to avoid mixed feedback in the YouTube comments. And you're going to avoid having a trailer that doesn't land with people. You're going to have right in front of you your whole trailer. And you can sanity check it as a team or as an individual. And it's a really simple exercise you can explain to a child. This is where it's going to get like this. This is where you're going to feel sad. This is where I'm going to show you this about the gameplay. This is where I'm going to shock you. It's a really simple exercise. What am I showing? What's the fantasy? What's the feeling? And so then once you've mapped it out, you can use what I call the trailer compass. Really simple exercise on top of the simple exercise that I've just shown you. And so when you're planning a visual journey of anything really, or say like your trailer isn't quite working, you can come back to these 4 questions. Number 1, what's the fantasy we're selling in this trailer and at this moment? Number 2, what's the feeling that I want them to have? What do I want audiences to feel after watching this trailer and in this moment? What do I want them to feel? How would I achieve that? Number 3, sorry, rushing ahead. How would I achieve that feeling with tone? How do I use VO, cut, music, rhythm when I drop a mechanic? How do I create a tone that's going to achieve that feeling? And finally, what are you actually showing? Has this shot, has this moment earned its place at this emotionally intensive moment? Am I supporting my player fantasy? If you do this in every moment of your trailer, if you can answer these 4 questions, I promise you, you will create a memorable and shareable trailer that resonates with audiences that they'll remember and talk about. It's really simple. It's everything I've talked about here is the same stuff they teach you at film school. It's the same stuff they teach writers. It's the same thing they teach advertisers. It's human behavior. It's how we've told stories since the caveman ages around a fire. Ooh, lion. Ooh, lion? Yeah. Now, I like the quote from earlier. I'm not going to reread it out. But everybody in this room, and I don't mean to be condescending, I'm not going to say that like, we're all storytellers, but we are. We're all storytellers, yeah? Whether you're making games or you're marketing games, you are a storyteller. And your marketing needs to do that too. Your trailers need to do that too. Invite players on, get them to ask questions, spark curiosity. Your trailers are not summaries, they're promises. Cut through the noise with meaningful moments of connection and player fantasy. And above all, make a promise worth keeping. Thank you for listening. If you want to reach out to me, there's my LinkedIn. Happy to ask or answer any questions you have. Creative consulting emails there, and Rabbit's Foot Studios, you can reach us on our website and see all of our lovely work there. I have 5 minutes for questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Your speech. Yeah, and now we have time for Q&A. So here's Liam. Please raise your hand.
Hi, Mikko Aaltio, game composer. I was wondering about music. How do you approach editing with music or to music? Just your thoughts in general.
That's a really great question. This is probably one of the most maddening things about when creating a trailer and a video game, because I've been a part of both of it, right? And it comes back to that tone and feeling. If you don't have the budget, use like one of those sites like Epidemic Sound or Artlist. But what you want to do is really just sum up What is the feeling I'm stroking? What is the feeling I need in this trailer? Is it melancholic? Is it about a hero's journey? Is it about loss? Is it about action and intrigue? Or whatever the feeling is, right? You go into one of those websites and you type in those feelings, and they tend to have a genre or a feeling list, and then you pick out, and the best advice I can give is you just have to listen to 100 tracks. But what you need more than anything is you need highs and lows. Don't have a monotonal track. I see that all the time, and that's what's going to give you that straight line of feeling. If you can, work with a composer or work with an artist, if you can. Because what you then get to do is define, both visually and audibly, those highs and lows. But I think one of the things that I see, the biggest challenges that I see more often than not, is it comes back to all my points, is people pick a track, but they then don't cut and take a journey with that track. The music has an intensity and a crescendo. Why is the visual crescendo not happening? Suddenly it's a really slow, melancholic moment. Well, I need to apply bits from my game that are going to be relevant to that feeling. But try not to work backwards, because that's often what people do. They tend to like try and shove a piece of music into a trailer that they've kind of slapped everything into. And if you do the exercise I talked about earlier, which is define all the feeling moments, you'll actually have a checklist when you're searching through that database of music. And you'll be like, oh, wait, hold on, that has it. That has highs, that has lows, oh, and it has this lovely crescendo. That's basically my trailer. And now what's amazing about those websites is you can actually do live remixing on the website. So you can say, my trailer's 30 seconds, I like this bit, and this bit, and it'll actually do all of that work for you. So for solo devs, it's fabulous, because it's doing all of that hard work for you. But again, top line advice, try and get custom music if you can. If not, spend the time to find the feeling and find a track that does it for you.
Okay. A little follow-up, if I may.
Yeah.
If you have a composer that you work with on a trailer,
Yeah.
do you ask them for a track and then cut the trailer to the music, or is there a back and forth?
There is definitely a back and forth, and the better it's way better collaborating with someone, because they're going to tell you stuff that you never thought about, or even like you're like, oh my god, that was a brilliant idea. Yeah, we should use strings at that moment. Try to use a guide track. It's kind of the industry, anything to do with what we're talking about here. Find a track that works, pick the bits, define the beats, the visual journey, and then you kind of brief that to your composer, and they'll go, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you, but what about a bit of a melancholic bit at the moment? So it's a back and forth. The better the collaboration, the better the outcome, I promise.
Hello. Thank you for the great presentation and the vibe and feeling. We're definitely storyteller there. Thank you. But I want to make a quick question. We don't have a lot of time.
Could you closer to your mouth so I can't hear you?
I wanted to know from you, your perspective, the difference and the timing for you to do a teaser and a trailer, because many games will be at different stages of production and need different types of marketing. I know for the storytelling, and most of the ideas you gave here and taught us work for both.
Yeah.
But looking outside from that, what's your perspective and view on why and when to have a teaser and a trailer?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Sorry, I wanted to be quick, but...
No, I'll try to be really quick. That's not what I'm known for. I kind of babble on. It really depends on your game and also what your plan is and your go-to-market strategy. I think I always try to tell people to have a teaser. Like, why not? Like, why not? If you've got something to show, especially if you've got gameplay to show, and you can whack a little saucy little teaser. And I'm maybe the person that's not everybody's friend at the publisher angle, because I'm always about slightly radical ideas and be like, just drop it. Don't say anything. Don't put anything in the info bio. Just drop it with nothing in the Discord. Just put it out there. But I can't really tell. It depends on every game and what the marketing strategy is. But I'm a big fan of teasers, as long as they are, again, serving the player fantasy and the journey along the way. If it's just being done for the sake of it, don't do it. If it's not ready, if it's not relevant, don't do it. Hopefully that's an answer. Anything else? Great question, by the way. Made me think.
How would you approach making a trailer that is of a less game with a less strong fantasy, such as the Vampire Survivors maybe, or...
Again, I'm partially deaf in my right ear.
How would you make a trailer for a game with a less focus on fantasy and more mechanics, such as Vampire Survivors or the like?
Great question. Everything I've just shown you is just as irrelevant. I know what I talked about sounds like I'm talking about traditional narrative, but player fantasy mechanics, even the most hardcore mechanic game, the player fantasy doesn't necessarily mean like fantasy elves and Tolkien-esque. It's about the imagination and the journey and the expectation that player is going to have about what it's going to be like to play this game. Like, just a really great example, Flight Simulator or Farming Simulator, right? Those are and they're great games, not my games, again, ADHD, but they do a fabulous job of getting you into this. I was even like, I might download Farming Simulator. I never would have played it, but I would have downloaded it because they do a great job of taking you on a player fantasy journey. It's not for me, but I just think that they do a wicked job of inviting you on that thing. And they're so mechanics heavy. Like, that is literally just learning how to use a tractor and move up and down a field. But they still nail player fantasy every time. So I can't give you a really quick definitive answer, but I would say that try not to treat them as they're different, because that's probably where I see most people going wrong. That make sense? Appreciate you. Great question.
Right. Hello, I'm Juuso, studying game development in Finland. I'll try to make this as quick as possible.
No worries.
I love watching and editing trailers. That's something I've been doing for nearly every prototype I've worked on as a group. But anyhow, let's say that I get a job from a company, and they want me to make a trailer for their game. And let's say they give me the footage for the trailer, for example, gameplay, and then maybe some cinematic footage, stuff like that. And let's say they give me like a week to make the trailer. Like, okay, you have time from Monday until Sunday. On Sunday, you have to have a trailer ready. What is the first thing you have to make sure that is working in the trailer? What's the most important thing in the trailer in such a short period of time? Let's pretend we're in such a horrendous situation.
Right. Great question, because that is 90% of the work I do. I'm not gonna bat around the bush. Nearly every call I get is, we have 3 days. And they go, here's 1,000 hours of footage. And you just panic. That is so much what I do. So I hear you. The first thing I try to nail, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, is I ask the brief maker and the person going, what is the most important here? Don't tell me wish list. Don't tell me download. That's CTA. That's the overall thing. What do you need them to feel? What is going to spur them on? How are they going to feel playing this game? And then I will sit with the team and we will write out again on a whiteboard and we'll come up with a linear narrative. We'll sit there and we'll go, this is the feeling here. This is the feeling. How do we build to that feeling there? And it is working backwards. And it's sadly, actually, what I've just shown you is the dream scenario of working from trailer. There may be 1 in 100, I'll be totally honest, but they're still applicable. And Sarah, our head of production, is laughing and nodding because this is the call that she gets and I have to somehow solve. But it is the journey, but it's about defining the feeling, defining the player fantasy, finding a tone really quickly, and then going, again, it's intention before execution, going, right, okay, at this point we need to feel this. We need to get across the players can traverse mountains in a single bound. Where on our emotional journey does that make sense to do? And then you start kind of slotting in those jigsaw pieces. If you do it the other way around, it'll be a bad trailer. It's just my experience in seeing that. So the answer is shortcut the entire process I just told you about in a much smaller time. And sorry I can't, it's just, that is the industry, sadly. But great question. I think that's my time, right? Do I have any more? I have more. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Hey.
Thank you very much. I'm a music publisher and a composer agent creating a lot of music for the trailers. There's a conversation that is always coming up. It's whether we're going for a synchronization or a score. And I wanted to ask you your position between these two options, because it's always a source of conversation between the partners I'm working with and the kind of creation we're going to go for. It's either the synchronization, but I'm not talking about the production, music production, not epidemic sound or anything like this, or extreme, but really synchronization acts.
So just as I understand it, are you asking what do I feel about when it's like you're given a trailer and you have to sync to that trailer? Can I boil your question down even further? Are you simply saying, is it frustrating when you're told, here's a trailer, now make music to it? Is that kind of it? No? Is it possible? So can you pass the mic? My hearing is terrible.
Yeah, sorry. No, it's more about making the best decision possible.
Best decision, okay, and whether or not.
What is your position? What would you prefer as a
I kind of, again, to that gentleman's question down there, I'd love to say that I can have a stance that defines this, and I get to put my foot down as a creative and say this is what's best. But the world we live in is all about pragmatism within practicalities of production and what we can and can't do. My honest answer is it's whatever is going to achieve the absolute best creative feeling and tone in the time possible. I wish I could take a stance and say, no, work with this and don't do this. But I've had massive budget productions where I've had to do that and had to take the harder road that I wouldn't do. And quite often, weirdly, there's this space between indie and AA where you get tons of creative freedom. And it's such a wonderful place to be from what I do, because you often get the opportunity to do stuff like that and make that decision. But I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10, I don't get to make that decision. I'm just kind of like told, and that's it. So yeah, sorry, again, I can't offer really, I'm just bringing you the hard truths, aren't I, here? It's not inspiring at all. I got more time?
Hi.
One more, maybe, if any is, yeah. Hey.
Hey, how do you consider the fact that trailers go on different platforms, social media, YouTube and stuff? Because if you go to a trailer on YouTube, you click it and you want to dedicate the time to watch that trailer.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go on TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatever, it pops up on your feed. Is there anything you need to think about when doing that?
Yeah. We actually talked about this, and I nearly had a slide about this, but I didn't want to get too lost in the weeds, because then it starts stepping into publisher territory and then I have to talk about a whole load of other stuff as well. Yes, your trailers should be different to an extent. The fundamentals and principles that I've talked about, no, everything should be in all of them what I just talked about. But yes, typically it is about speed. When you're on storefronts, it's typically that moment of do I buy or don't I buy? There is discovery in it. There is a lot of discovery. I discover games on Steam, but that is actually probably what I would tell you to do, is define where this trailer's going and what is the intention of it. Is it discovery? Is it validation? Do I want to stir comments in the comment section below? Again, that's your intention and how you go into your trailer, but definitely they should be different. If we're talking about trends, and that's why I want to avoid trends, what obviously I see a lot of the time is this kind of like game influencer talking over people's footage, like IGN do a lot, and that works really amazingly well for Instagram and TikToks and Reels, right? It does. And you even now see studios and publishers and even indie devs making those types of trailers about themselves. Like, fake it till you make it, why not? So I don't have a position on it. Yes, they should be different. If people tell you, no, just take that thing and shove it into your kind of storefront, they're definitely wrong. But I think even the trailers, let's say you make a cinematic, that definitely has a place on your storefront. Because what you want is that ability for them to click next, watch the video, pick something that works for them. So treat them as they're different, yes, but all the principles are the same. Hopefully that answers that question. I think unless there's any more, I think we wrap it up.
Okay, yeah. Let's thank Alexander, everyone.
Thank you so much. Really
And
appreciate your time.
please follow Crit Creative Consulting, Rabbit's Food Studios, and you can go chat with Alexander. Yeah, thank you.